Hello and welcome to this second look exploring session, and today we are looking at the lamentable tragedy of Locrine for the second time, with many people who were here for the first time, though we've left it just long enough for everyone to have forgotten what it was like the first time round. So that's always a lovely opportunity for us to be surprised all over again. We are going to be reading this play all the way through without, unless anything goes horribly wrong, interruptions. We're going to just keep ploughing forward unless we absolutely have to stop, trying to get a sense of the flow of the play overall rather than over 3 sessions, which is how we looked at it last time, which creates a slightly weird interpretation of how the play flows. So we're going to try and perform it, though as usual this is just a read through. Some of us have had time to prepare, many of us have not, many of us that's not their thing. So we're just going to see what comes out of this performance today. And we have a selection of people reading various parts. So reading Locrine today, the title character is...
Hello, I'm Lois Potter, retired academic living in London.
Reading Debon and Hubba today is...
Hi, I'm Alan Scott, neither an actor nor an academic, based in Suffolk.
And reading Humber today is...
Hi, I'm Tamara. I'm an actor. I am a little bit scared of this today.
Excellent. That's what we like, a little bit of fear. And reading Thrasimachus and Segar today is...
Hi, my name's Elizabeth Amisu and I'm an author living in Romford.
Reading Gwendoline and also Arte, very last minute substitution, is...
Sarah Blake. I'm an actor, writer and director living in Germany.
Reading Assarachus and Oliver today is...
Hello, Dan, actor in Montpellier, France.
Reading Corineius today is...
Hello, I'm Helen Good, historian in Yorkshire.
Reading Camber, William, first soldier and a page today is...
Hello, I'm Eric, and I apparently will be, split across 4 personalities, so I might get like accents confused and stuff.
Reading Albernact and Dorothy today is...
Hello, my name is Lynn Freitas. I'm a writing teacher. I live in the northwestern United States.
Reading Strumbo and second soldier today is...
Hi, I'm Steve Longstaffe, scholar of early modern drama living in the northwestern England.
And I'm actually going to throw in literally the second, this instantaneous substitution. I'm going to add to Stephen's workload, I'm going to add Madan. Madan, you are Madan, appears in Act 5. I've just realised I need to give you that part. Lucky you, it's about 5 lines. Reading Estrild, Captain and Margery today is...
Liza Graham, singer, actor, and early modern text bod in London.
And I am your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading today Brutus, King of the Britons, and I've just literally grabbed the parts of Trompart and Segar. Hopefully that will all flow perfectly well. It should match up happily, because at least one of them is dead pretty soonish. I know, terrible spoilers for you all. So, unless I've missed anybody out, we're going to be going through this play that we will not be reading any stage directions. We may attempt to act out certain elements as we go, some more than others, and so there may be elements that you won't necessarily be able to pick up from our reading. This is as much for us as it is for you. We will try and keep it entertaining. We will try and keep it moving forward, and we're going to start now with the beginning of the play and the arrival of Arte.
In panem sectator et umbra, a mighty lion, ruler of the woods, of wondrous strength and great proportion, with hideous noise, scaring the trembling trees, with yelling clamours, shaking all the earth, traversed the groves, and chased the wandering beasts. Long did he range amid the shady trees, and drave the silly beasts before his face, when suddenly, from out a thorny bush, a dreadful archer, with his bow y-bent, wounded the lion with a dismal shaft. So he him stroke that it drew forth the blood, and filled his furious heart with fretting ire. But all in vain he threatened teeth and paws, and sparkleth fire from forth his flaming eyes, for the sharp shaft gave him a mortal wound. So valiant brute, the terror of the world, whose only looks did scare his enemies, the archer death brought to his latest end. Oh, what may long abide above this ground in state of bliss and healthful happiness?
Most loyal lords and faithful followers that have with me unworthy general passed the screedy gulf of ocean, leaving the confines of fair Italy. Behold, your Brutus draweth nigh his end, and I must leave you, though against my will. My sinews shrunk, my numbed senses fail, a chilling cold possesseth all my bones. Black, ugly death with visage pale and wan presents himself before my dazzled eyes, and with his dart prepared is to strike. These arms, my lord, these never daunted arms that oft have quelled the courage of my foes, and eke dismayed my neighbour's arrogance, now yield to death, o'erlaid with crooked age, devoid of strength and of their proper force, even as the lusty cedar worn with years, that far abroad her dainty odour throws amongst all the daughters of proud Lebanon. This heart, my lords, this near appalled heart that was a terror to the bordering lands, a doleful scourge unto my neighbour kings, now by the weapons of impartial death is clothed asunder and bereft of life, as when the sacred oak with thunderbolts sent from the fiery circuit of the heavens, sliding among the air's celestial vaults, is rent and cloven to the very roots. In vain, therefore, I strangle with this foe, then welcome death, since God will have it so.
Alas, my lord, we sorrow at your case, and grieve to see your person vexed thus. But whatsoe'er the fates determined have, it lieth not in us to disannul. And he that would annihilate his mind, soaring with Icarus too near to the sun, may catch a fall with young Bellerophon. For when the fatal sisters have decreed to separate us from this earthly mold, no mortal force can countermand their minds. Then, worthy lords, since there's no way but one, cease your laments and leave your grievous moan.
Your Highness knows how many victories, how many trophies I erected have triumphantly in every place we came. The Grecian monarch, warlike Pandrasus, and all the crew of the Molossians, Geoffarius, the armstrong king of Gauls, and all the borders of great Aquitaine have felt the force of our victorious arms, and to their cost beheld our chivalry. Where'er Aurora, handmaid of the sun, where'er the sun, bright guardian of the day, where'er the joyful day with cheerful light, where'er the light illuminates the world, the Trojan's glory flies with golden wings, wings that do soar beyond fell envious flight. The fame of Brutus and his followers pierceth the sky, and with the skies the throne of mighty Jove, commander of the world. Then, worthy Brutus, leave these sad laments, comfort yourself with this your great renown, and fear not death. though he seemed terrible.
Nay, Corineius, you mistake my mind in construing wrong the cause of my complaints. I feared to yield myself to fatal death. God knows it was the least of all my thoughts. A greater care torments my very bones and makes me tremble at the thought of it. And in you, lordings, doth the substance lie.
Most noble lord, if aught your royal peers accomplish may to ease your lingering grief, I, in the name of all, protest to you that we will boldly enterprise the same, were it to enter to black Tartarus, where triple Cerberus with his venomous throat scours the ghosts with high resounding noise, will either rend the bowels of the earth, searching the entrails of the brutish earth, or, with his Ixion's overdaring son, be bound in chains of ever-during steel.
Then hearken to your sovereign's latest words, in which I will unto you all unfold our royal mind and resolute intent. When golden Hebe, daughter of great Jove, covered my manly cheeks with youthful down, the unhappy slaughter of my luckless sire drove me and old Assarachus, mine harm, as exiles from the bounds of Italy, so that perforce we were constrained to fly to Graecia's monarch, noble Pandrasus. There I alone did undertake your cause. There I restored your antique liberty. Though Graecia frowned and all Molosia stormed, though brave Antigonus with martial band in pitched field encountered me and mine, though Pandrasus and his contributories with all the rout of their confederates sought to deface our glorious memory and wipe the name of Trojans from the earth, him did I captivate with this mine arm, and by compulsion forced him to agree to certain articles, which there we did propound. From Graecia, through the boisterous Hellespont, we came upon the fields of Lestrigon, whereas our brother Corineius was, since when we passed the Sicilian Gulf, and so, transfretting the Illyrian Sea, arrived on the coasts of Aquitaine, where with an army of his barbarous Gauls, Gopherius and his brother Gathilus, encountering with our host, sustained the foil. And for your sakes, my Turnus there I lost. Turnus that slew 600 men at arms, all in an hour with his sharp battle-axe. From thence, upon the stronds of Albion to Corineius, haven happily we came, and quelled the giants, come of Albion's race, with Gog-Magog, son to Samothrace, the cursed captain of that damned crew, and in that isle at length I placed you. Now, let me see if my laborious toils, if all my care, if all my grievous wounds, if all my diligence were well employed.
When first I followed thee and thine, brave king, I hazarded my life and dearest blood to purchase favour at your princely hands. And for the same, in dangerous attempts, in sundry conflicts and in divers broils, I showed the courage of my manly mind. For this I combated with Galthlithus, the brother to Gopherius of Gaul. For this I fought with furious Gog-Magog, a savage captain of a savage crew. And for these deeds, brave Cornwall I received, a grateful gift given by a gracious king. And for this gift, this life and dearest blood will Corineius spend for Brutus' good.
What, my friend, the brave prince hath vowed to you, the same will Debon do unto his end.
Then, loyal peers, since you all are agreed and resolute to follow Brutus' hosts, favour my sons, favour these orphans, lords, and shield them from the dangers of their foes. Locrine, the column of my family and only pillar of my weakened age. Locrine, draw near unto thy sire, and take thy latest blessings at his hands. And for thou art the eldest of my sons, be thou a captain to thy brethren, and imitate thy aged father's steps, which will conduct thee to true honour's gate. For if thou follow sacred virtue's law, thou shalt be crowned with a laurel branch and wear a wreath of sempiternal fame, sorted amongst the glorious happy ones.
If Locrine do not follow your advice and bear himself in all things like a prince that seeks to amplify the great renown left unto him for an inheritage by those that were his ancestors, let me be flung into the ocean and swallowed in the bowels of the earth, or let the ruddy lightning of great Jove descend upon this my devoted head.
But for I see you all be in doubt who shall be matched with our royal son. Locrine, receive this present at my hand, a gift more rich than are the wealthy mines found in the bowels of America. Thou shalt be spoused to fair Gwendoline. Love her and take her, for she is thine own. If so, thy uncle and herself do please.
And herein how your highness honours me, it cannot now be in my speech expressed. For careful parents glory not so much at their honour and promotion as for to see the issue of their blood seated in honour and prosperity.
And far be it from any maiden's thoughts to contradict her father's aged will. Therefore, since he to whom I must obey hath given me now unto your royal self, I will not stand aloof from off the lure, like crafty dames that most of all deny that which they most desire to possess.
Then now, my son, thy part is on the stage, for thou must bear the person of a king. Locrine, stand up and wear the regal crown, and think upon the state of majesty, that thou with honour well mayest wear the crown. And if thou tenderest these my latest words, as thou requirest my soul to be at rest, as thou desirest thine own security, cherish and love thy new betrothed wife.
No longer let me well enjoy the crown than I do honour peerless Gwendoline.
Camber,
My lord.
the glory of mine age and darling of thy mother Imogen, take thou the south for thy dominion. From thee there shall proceed a royal race that shall maintain the honour of this land and sway the regal sceptre with their hands. And Albernact, thy father's only joy, youngest in years, but not the youngest in mind, a perfect pattern of old chivalry, take thou the north for thy dominion, a country full of hills and ragged rocks, replenished with fierce, untamed beasts, as correspondent to thy martial thoughts. Live long, my sons, with endless happiness, and bear firm concordance amongst yourselves. Obey the counsels of these fathers grave, that you may bear out violence. And, but suddenly, through weakness of my age and the defect of youthful puissance, my malady increaseth more and more, and cruel death hasteneth his quickened pace to dispossess me of my earthly shape. Mine eyes wax dim, overcast with clouds of age. The pangs of death compass my crazied bones. Thus to you all my blessings I bequeath, and with my blessings this my fleeting soul. My glass is run, and all my miseries do end with life. Death closeth up mine eyes. My soul, in haste, flies to the Elysian fields.
Accursed stars, damned and accursed stars, to abbreviate my noble father's life. Hard-hearted gods, and too envious fates, thus to cut off my father's fatal thread. Brutus, that was a glory to us all, Brutus, that was a terror to his foes. Alas, too soon, by Demogorgon's knife, the martial Brutus is bereft of life.
No sad complaints may move just Aeacus. No dreadful threats can fear Judge Rhodomanth. Wert thou as strong as mighty Hercules that tamed the huge monsters of the world, playedst thou as sweet as on the sweet-sounding lute, as did the spouse of fair Eurydice, that did enchant the waters with his noise, and made stones, birds, and beasts to lead a dance, constrained the hilly trees to follow him, thou couldst not move the judge of Erebus, nor move compassion in grim Pluto's heart, for fatal Moors expecteth all the world, and every man must tread the way of death. Brave Tantalus, the valiant Pelops' sire, guest of the gods, suffered untimely death, and old Tithonus, husband to the morn, and grim Minos, whom just Jupiter deigned to admit unto his sacrifice, the thundering trumpets of bloodthirsty Mars, the fearful rage of fell Tisiphone, the boisterous waves of humid Ocean, are instruments and tools of dismal death. Then, novel cousin, cease to mourn his chance, whose age and years were signs that he should die. It resteth now that we inter his bones, that was a terror to his enemies. Take up the corse, and princes, hold him dead, who while he lived upheld the Trojan state. Sound drums and trumpets, march to Troy Navant, there to provide our chieftain's funeral.
Either the four elements, the 7 planets, and all the particular stars of the pole antastic are adversative against me, or else I was begotten and born in the wane of the moon, where everything, as Lactantius in his 4th book of Consultations doth say, goeth arseward. Aye, masters, you may laugh, I must weep. You may joy, I must sorrow, shedding salt tears from the watery fountains of my most dainty fair eyes, along my comely and smooth cheeks, and as great plenty as the water runneth from the bucking tubs or red wine out of the hogsheads. For trust me, gentlemen, my very good friends, so forth, the little god, nay, the desperate god Cupid, with one of his vengeable bird bolts, has shot me unto the heel. So not only, but also, fine phrase, I burn, and I burn in love and love and love. Strumbo, what hast thou seen? Not Diana with the Astom. Yea, with these eyes thou hast seen her, and therefore pull them out, for they will work thy bale. Strumbo, hast thou heard? Not the voice of the nightingale, but a voice sweeter than hers. Yea, with those ears thou hast heard it, and therefore cut them off, for they have caused thy sorrow. Nay, Strumbo, kill thyself, drown thyself, hang thyself, starve thyself. Oh, Well, then I shall leave my sweetheart. Whoosh. Oh, my heart, my heart. Now, Pate, for thy master, I will dite an eloquent love epistle to her, and then she, hearing the grand verbosity of my scripture, will love me presently. My pen is naught. Gentlemen, lend me a knife. I think the more haste, the worse speed. So it is, Mistress Dorothy, the sole essence of my soul, that the little sparkles of affection kindled in me towards your sweet self has now increased to a great flame, and will be, ere it be long, consume my poor heart, except you with the pleasant water of your secret fountain quench the furious heat of the same. Alas, I am a gentleman of good fame and name, majestical in apparel, comely in gait, portly. Let not therefore your gentle heart be so hard as to despise a proper, tall, young man of handsome life, and by despising him, not only, but also to kill him. Thus expecting time and tide, bid you farewell, your servant, Senior Strumbo. Woohoo! Wit! Oh, Pate! Oh, memory! Oh, hand! Oh, ink! Oh, paper! Well, now, will I send it away? Trompart! Trompart! Oh, what a villain is this? Why, Sirrah, come when your master calls you! Trompart!
Anon, sir.
Thou knowest, my pretty boy, what a good master I've been to thee ever since I took thee into my service.
Aye, sir.
And how I've cherished thee always, as if you'd been the fruit of my loins, and flesh of my flesh, and a bone of my bone.
Aye, sir.
Well then, show thyself herein a trusty servant, and carry this letter to Mistress Dorothy, and tell her now, masters, you shall see a marriage by and by. But here she comes. Now must I frame up my amorous passions.
Signor Strumbo, well met. I received your letter by your man here, who told me a pitiful story of your anguish, and so understanding your passions were so great, I came hither.
Oh, my sweet Pinckney, the fecundity of my ingenue is not so great that I may declare unto you the sorrowful sobs and broken sleeps that I suffered for your sake. And therefore I desire you to receive me into your familiarity. For your love doth lie as near and nigh unto my heart within, as mine eye to my nose, my leg unto my hose, and my flesh unto my skin.
Truly, Master Strumbo, you speak too learnedly for me to understand the drift of your mind, and therefore tell me your tale in plain terms and leave off your dark riddles.
Alas, Mistress Dorothy, this is my luck, that when I most would, I cannot be understood. And so my great learning is an inconvenience unto me. But to speak in plain terms, I love you, Mistress Dorothy, if you like to accept me into your familiarity.
If this be all, I am content.
Say'st thou so, sweet wench? Let me lick thy toes. Farewell, mistress. If any of you be in love, provide ye a cap case of new coined words, and then shall you soon have the Sacado de Labres and something else.
Uncle and princes of brave Brittany, since that our noble father is entombed as best beseemed so brave a prince as he, if so you please, this day my love and I within the temple of Concordia will solemnize our royal marriage.
Right, noble lord, your subjects every one must needs obey your highness at command, especially in such a course as this, that smart concerns your highness great content.
Then frolic, lordlings, to fair Concord's walls, where we will pass the day in knightly sports, the night in dancing and in figured masks, and offer to God Rhesus all our sports.
Legit omnia numen. When Perseus married fair Andromeda, the only daughter of King Cepheus, he thought he had established well his crown, and that his kingdom should for aye endure. But lo, proud Phineus, with a band of men, contrived of sunburnt Ethiopians, by force of arms the bride he took from him, and turned their joy into a flood of tears. So fares it with young Locrine and his love. He thinks this marriage tendeth to his weal, but this foul day, this foul, accursed day is the beginning of his miseries. Behold, where Humber and his Scythians approacheth nigh with all his warlike train. I need not, I the sequel shall declare, what tragic chances fall out in this war.
At length the snail doth climb the highest tops, ascending up the stately castle walls. At length the water with continual drops doth penetrate the hardest marble stone. At length we are arrived in Albion. Nor could the barbarous station sovereign, nor yet the ruler of brave Belgia stay us from cutting over to this isle, whereas I hear a troop of Phrygians under the conduct of Posthumus' son have pitched up lordly pavilions and hope to prosper in this lovely isle. But I will frustrate all their foolish hope and teach them that the Scythian emperor leads fortune tied in a chain of gold, constraining her to yield unto his will, and grace him with their regal diadem, which I will have maugre their treble hosts, and all the power their petty kings can make.
If she that rules fair Ramis' golden gate grant us the honour of the victory, as hitherto she always favoured us, like noble father, we will rule the land, enthronized in seats of topaz stones, that Locrine and his brethren all may know. None must be king but Humber and his son.
Courage, my son, fortune shall favour us, and yield to us the coronet of Bay, that decked none but noble conquerors. But what saith Estrild to these regions? How liketh she the temperature thereof? Are they not pleasant in her gracious eyes?
The plains, my lord, garnished with Flora's wealth, and overspread with party-coloured flowers, do yield sweet contentation to my mind. The airy hills enclosed with shady groves, the groves replenished with sweet chirping birds. The birds' resounding heavenly melody are equal to the groves of Thessaly, where Phoebus with the learned ladies 9 delight themselves with music harmony, and from the moisture of the mountain tops the silent springs dash down with murmuring streams, and water all the ground with crystal waves. The gentle blasts of Eurus' modest wind, moving the pittering leaves of Sylvan's woods, to equal it with Tempus' paradise. And thus consorted all to one effect do make me think these are the happy isles. Most fortunate, if Humber may them win.
Madam, where resolution leads the way, and courage follows with emboldened pace, fortune can never use her tyranny. For valiantness is like unto a rock that standeth in the waves of ocean, which, though the billows beat on every side, Boreas fell with his tempestuous storms, bloweth upon it with a hideous clamour, yet it remaineth still, unmovable.
Kingly resolved, thou glory of thy sire. But, worthy Segar, what uncouth novelties bringst thou unto our royal majesty?
My lord, the youngest of all Brutus' sons, stout Albernact, with millions of men, approacheth nigh, and meaneth ere the morn to try your force by dint of fatal sword.
Let him come with millions of hosts, and shall find entertainment good enough. Yeah, fit for those that are enemies, for we'll receive them at the lance's point, and massacre their bodies with our blades. Yeah, though they were in number infinite, more than the mighty Babylonian queen, Semiramis, the ruler of the West, brought against the emperor of the Scythians, yet would we not start back 1 foot from them, that they might know we are invincible.
Now, by great Jove, the supreme king of heaven, and the immortal gods that live therein, when, as the morning shows his cheerful face, and Lucifer, mounted upon his steed, brings in the chariot of the golden sun, I'll meet young Albernact in the open field, and crack my lance on his burgonet, to try the valour of his boyish strength. There will I show such ruthful spectacles, and cause so great effusion of blood, that all his boys shall wonder at my strength, as when the warlike queen of Amazon, Penthelesia, armed with her lance, girt with a corselet of bright shining steel, cooped up the faint-heart Grecians in the camp.
Spoke like a warlike knight, my noble son, nay, like a prince that seeks his father's joy. Therefore, tomorrow ere fair Titan shine, and bashful Eos, messenger of light, expels the liquid sleep from out men's eyes, thou shalt conduct the right wing of the host. The left wing shall be under Segar's charge, the rearward shall be under me, myself, and lovely Estrild, fair and gracious, if fortune favour me in mine attempts, and make the queen of lovely Albion. Come, let us in and muster up our train, and furnish up our lusty soldiers, that they may be a bulwark to our state, and bring our wished joys to perfect end.
Oh, we cobblers lead a merry life, Dan, 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 Dan.
Void of all ennui and strife, and deadly done.
Our ease is great, our labour small, Dan, 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 Dan.
And yet our gains be much withal, Dan, diddle, Dan.
With this art so fine and fair, Dan, 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 Dan.
No occupation may compare, Dan, diddle, Dan.
For merry pastime and joyful glee, Dan, 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 Dan.
Most happy man we cobblers be, Dan, diddle, Dan.
The can stands full of nappy ale, Dan, 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 Dan.
In our shop still without and fail, Dan, diddle, Dan.
This is our meat, this is our food, Dan, 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 Dan.
This brings us to a merry mood, Dan, diddle, Dan.
This makes us work for company, Dan, 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 Dan.
To pull the tankards thankfully, Dan, diddle, Dan.
Drink to thy husband, Dorothy, Dan, 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 Dan.
Why then, my Strumbo, dear's to thee, Dan diddle Dan.
Drink thou the rest, Trompart amain, Dan, 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 Dan.
When this is gone, we'll fill it again,
Dan diddle Dan. Oh.
The poor estate is farthest from Annoy. How merrily he sitteth on his stool. But when he sees that he must needs be pressed, he'll turn his note and sing another tune. Oh, by your leave, Master Cobbler.
You're welcome, gentlemen. What will you? Any old shoes or buskins, or will you have your shoes clouted? I'll do them as well as any cobbler in Caithness whatsoever.
Oh, Master Cobbler, you are far deceived in me, for don't you see this? I come not to buy any shoes, but to buy yourself. Come, sir, you must be a soldier in the king's cause.
But hear you, sir, has your king any commission to take a man against his will? I promise you, I can scant believe it. Did he give you any commission?
Oh, sir, you need not care for that. I need no commission. Hold, here I command you, in the name of our King Albernact, to appear tomorrow in the town house of Caithness.
King Nyankjactabal. Cry God mercy. But what are we to do with him, or he with us? But you, sir, Master Cape and Tail, draw your pasteboard, or else I promise you I'll give you a casuanado with a bastinado over your shoulders. Teach you to come hither with your implements.
Ah, pray thee, good fellow, be content. I do the king's command.
You put me out of your book, then.
I may not.
Well, come, sir. Will your stomach serve you? By Gog's blue blood and hallidom, I will have a bout with you.
Let's hope someone breaks up this fight soon.
Yes.
You're coming with me.
Yeah, I think Thrasimachus, I'm sure, is going to come in any moment now. It's definitely going to happen.
Sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming in any second now.
Who? Thrasimachus?
Yeah, Thrasimachus. Yeah, definitely.
How now? What noise? What sudden come is this? How now, my captain and the cobbler so hard at it? Sirs, what is your quarrel?
Nothing, sir, but that he will not take the press money.
Here, good fellow, take it at my command, unless you need to be stretched.
Truly, master gentleman, I lack no money. If you please, I will resign it to one of these poor fellows.
No such matter. Look ye be at the common house tomorrow.
Oh, wife, I've spun a fair thread. If I've been quiet, I've not been pressed. Therefore, well may I lament. Come, thither, shut up. We must to the wars.
Brave cavalries, princes of Albany, whose trenchant blades with our deceased sire passing the frontiers of brave Graecia were bathed in our enemies' lukewarm blood, now is the time to manifest your wills, your haughty minds and resolutions. Now opportunity is offered to try your courage and your earnest zeal, which you always protest to Albernact. For at this time, yea, at this present time, stout fugitives come from the Scythians' bounds, have pestered every place with mutinies. But trust me, lordings, I will never cease to persecute the rascal renegades, till all the rivers, stained with their blood, shall fully show their fatal overthrow.
So shall your highness merit great renown, and imitate your aged father's steps.
But tell me, cousin, camest thou through the plains, and saw'st thou there the faint-heart fugitives mustering their weather-beaten soldiers? What order keep they in their marshalling?
After we Past the groves of Caledon, where murmuring rivers slide with silent streams, we did behold the straggling Scythians' camp, replete with men stored with munition. There might we see the valiant-minded knights, fetching careers along the spacious plains. Humber and Hubba, armed in azure blue, mounted upon their horses white as snow, went to behold the pleasant flowering fields. Hector and Troilus, Priamus' lovely sons, chasing the Grecians over the Simois, were not to be compared to these two knights.
Well, hast thou painted out in eloquence the portraiture of Humber and his son, as fortunate as was Polycrates? Yet should they not escape our conquering swords, or boast of aught but of our clemency.
Oh, there's wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire! Pitch! Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch!
What, sirs? What mean you by these clamours made, these outcries raised in our stately court?
Wildfire and pitch. Wildfire and pitch!
Villains, I say, tell us the cause hereof.
Wildfire and pitch. Wildfire
and pitch. Pitch, yeah.
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 Tell me, you villains, why you make this noise, or with my lance I will prick your bowels out.
Where are your houses? Where's your dwelling place?
Place? Oh, laugh a month and a day at him. Place. Cry God mercy. Why, do you think that for such honest men as we hold our habitaicles in king's palaces? Yeah, because you seem to be an abominable chieftain. I would tell you our state, from the top to the toe, from the head to the shoe, from the beginning to the ending, from the building to the burning. This honest fellow and I had our mansion cottage in the suburbs of this city, hard by the Temple of Mercury, and by the common soldiers of the well, what do you call them? With all the suburbs were burnt to the ground, and the ashes are left there. The country wives to wash books withal. And that which grieves me most, my loving wife, oh cruel strife, the wicked flames did roast, and therefore, Captain Crust, we will continually cry, except you seek a remedy, our houses to re-edify, which are now burnt to dust.
Wildfire and pitch! Wildfire and pitch!
Now, we must remedy these outrages and throw revenge upon their hateful heads. And you, good fellows, for your house is burnt, we will remunerate you store of gold, and we'll build your houses by our palace gate.
Gate? Petty treason to my person, nowhere else but by your backside? Gate? How? I'm vexed in my collar. Gate? I cry God mercy. Do you hear, Master King? If you mean to gratify such poor men as we be, you must build our houses by the tavern.
It shall be done, sir.
Near the tavern? Aye, by lady, sir, who's spoken like a good fellow. Do you hear, sir? When our house is builded, if you do chance to pass, or re-pass that way, we will bestow a quart of the best wine upon you.
It grieves me, lordings, that my subjects' good should thus be spoiled by the Scythians, who, as you see, with lightfoot foragers, depopulate the places where they come. But cursed Humber, thou shalt rue the day that ere thou camest to Caphnesia.
Hubba, go take a coronet off our horse, as many lancers and light-armed knights as may suffice for such an enterprise, and place them in the grove of Caledon. With these, when as the skirmish doth increase, retire thou from the shelters of the wood, and set upon the weakened Trojan's back. For policy joined with chivalry can never be put back from victory.
Thou base-born Hun, how durst thou be so bold as once to menace warlike Albernact, the great commander of these regions? But thou shalt buy thy rashness with thy death, and rue too late thy overbold attempts. For with this sword, this instrument of death, that hath been drenched in my foeman's blood, I'll separate thy body from thy head, and set that coward blood of thine abroach.
Yea, with this staff, great Strumbo's instrument, I'll crack thy coxcomb, paltry Scythian.
Nor reek I of thy threat, thou princox boy, nor do I fear thy foolish insolency. And but thou better use thy bragging blade, than thou dost rule thy overflowing tongue. Superbious Britain, thou shalt know too soon the force of Humber and his Scythians.
Oh, horrible! Terrible! Oh!
Trumpets! How bravely this young Briton Albernact darteth abroad the thunderbolts of war, beating down millions with his furious mood, and in his glory triumphs over all, moving the massed squadrons of the ground heaps, hills on hills to scale the starry sky, as when Briareus, armed with 100th hands, flung forth 100th mountains at great Jove, and when the monstrous giant Monicus hurled Mount Olympus at great Mars, his target, and shot huge cadres at Minerva's shield, how doth he overlook with haughty front my fleeting host, and lifts his lofty face against us all that now do fear his force, like as we see the wrathful sea from far, in a great mountain heaped with hideous noise, with 1,000 billows beat against the ships and toss them in the waves like tennis balls. Ay me, I fear my Hubba is surprised.
Follow me, soldiers, follow Albernact. Pursue the Scythians flying from the field. Let none of them escape with victory, that they may know the Britons' force is more than all the power of the trembling Huns.
Forward, brave soldiers, forward! Keep the chase. He that takes captive Humber or his son shall be rewarded with a crown of gold.
Oh, injurious fortune, hast thou crossed me thus in the morning of my victories, thus in the prime of my felicity, to cut me off by such hard overthrow. Hadst thou no time thy rancor to declare, but in the spring of all my dignities? Hadst thou no place to spit thy venom out, but on the person of young Albernact? I, that erewhile did scare mine enemies and drove them almost to a shameful flight, and I, that erewhile full lion-like did fare among the dangers of the thick-thronged pikes, must now depart most lamentably slain by Humber's treachery and fortune's spites. Cursed be her charms, damned be her cursed charms, that doth delude the wayward hearts of men that trust unto her fickle wheel, of which she never leaveth turning upside down. O gods, O heavens, allot me but the place where I may find her hateful mansion. I'll pass the Alps to watery Meroe, where fiery Phoebus in his chariot, the wheels whereof are decked with emeralds, cast such a heat yea, such a scorching heat, and spoileth flora of her checkered grass. I'll overrun the mountain Caucasus, where fell Chimera in her triple shape rolleth hot flames from out her monstrous paunch, searing the beast with issue of her gorge. I'll pass the frozen zone where icy flakes, stopping the passage of the fleeting ships, do lie like mountains in the congealed sea, where if I find that hateful house of hers, I'll pull the fickle wheel from out her hands and tie herself in everlasting bands. But all in vain I breathe these threatenings. The day is lost. The Huns are conquerors. Debon is slain. My men are done to death. The currents swift swim violently with blood. At last, oh, that this night so long last, myself with wounds past all recovery, must leave my crown for Humber to possess.
Lord have mercy. I think this is a holy day. Every man lies sleeping in the fields. God knows, full sore against their wills.
Fly, noble Albernact, and save thyself. The Scythians follow with great celerity, and there is no way but flight or speedy death. Fly, noble Albernact, and save thyself.
Nay, let them fly that fear to die the death, that tremble at the name of fatal Moors. Never shall proud Humber boast or brag himself that he hath put young Albernact to flight. And lest he should triumph at my decay, this sword shall reave his master of his life, that I'll have saved his master's doubtful life. But oh, my brethren, if you care for me, revenge my death upon his traitorous head. Et fosqueus domus es negriatis regia ditis, qui regitis rigidio stigios. Modermine lucos nox coeci regina pole furialis erinis, dique omnes, albanum tolite regum, tolite flumineus, undis rigidaque pollude, nun me fata vocant, loc codam pectore. Thereof.
Ooh, what have he done? His nose bleeds. Oh, that's Mother Fox. Look here where my master lies. Master! Master!
Let me alone, I tell thee, for I am dead.
Oh, yeah, one word, good master.
I will not speak, for I am dead, I tell thee.
And is my master dead? Oh, sticks and stones, brickbats and bones, and is my master dead? Oh, you cockatrices and bamble-trickses that in the woods dwell, you friars and brambles, you cooks, shops and shambles, come howl and yell. With howling and screeching, with wailing and weeping, come you to lament. Oh, colliers of Croydon and rustics of Roydon and fishes of Kent, for Strumbo the cobbler, the fine merry cobbler of Caithness town, at this same stour, at this very hour, lies dead on the ground. Oh, master, thieves, thieves, thieves.
Where be they? Come, me funny pumpkin. Let me be rising. We shall be robbed by and by.
Thus, from the dreadful shocks of furious Mars, thundering alarms, and Ramnusius drum, we are retired with joyful victory. The slaughtered Trojans, squelching in their blood, infect the air with their carcasses, and are a prey for every ravenous bird.
So perish they that are our enemies, so perish they that love not Humber's weal, and mighty Jove, commander of the world, protect my love from all false treacheries.
Thanks, lovely Estrild, solace to my soul, but valiant Hubba, for thy chivalry declared against the men of Albany, lo, here a flowering garland, wreathed of bay as a reward for thy forward mind.
This unexpected honour, noble sire, will prick my courage into braver deeds and cause me to attempt such hard exploits that all the world shall sound at Hubba's name.
And now, brave soldiers, for this good success, carouse whole cups of Amazonian wine, sweeter than nectar or ambrosia, and cast away the clods of cursed care with goblets crowned with Semeleus' gifts. Now let us march to Abyss silver streams that clearly glide along the champaign fields and moist the grassy meads with humid drops. Sound drums and trumpets, sound up cheerfully, sith we return with joy and victory.
Scalera in autorum cadunt. High on a bank by Nilus' boisterous streams, fearfully sat the Egyptian crocodile, dreadfully grinding in her sharp, long teeth the broken bowels of a silly fish. His back was armed against the dint of spear with shields of brass that shined like burnished gold. And as he stretched forth his cruel paws, a subtle adder, creeping closely near, thrusting his forked sting into his claws, privily shed his poison through his bones, which made him swell, that there his bowels burst, that did so much in his own greatness trust. So Humber, having conquered Albernact, doth yield his glory unto Locrine's sword. Mark what ensues, and you may easily see that all our life is but a tragedy.
And is this true? Is Albernactus slain? Hath cursed Humber with his straggling host, with that his army made of mongrel curs, brought our redoubted brother to his end? Oh, that I had the Thracian Orpheus harp, for to awake out of the infernal shade those ugly devils of black Erebus that might torment the damned traitor's soul. Oh, that I had Amphion's instrument, to quicken with his vital notes and tunes the flinty joints of every stony rock by which the Scythians might be punished. For by the lightning of almighty Jove, the Hun shall die, had he 10,000 lives. And would to God he had 10,000 lives, that I might with the arm-strong Hercules crop off so vile an hydra's hissing heads. But say me, cousin, for I long to hear, how Albernact came by untimely death.
After the traitorous host of Scythians entered the field with martial equipage, young Albernact, impatient of delay, led forth his army against the straggling mates, whose multitude did daunt our soldiers' minds. Yet nothing could dismay the forward prince. But with a courage most heroical, like to a lion amongst a flock of lambs, made havoc of the faint-heart fugitives, hewing a passage through them with his sword. Yea, we had almost given them the repulse, when suddenly, from out the silent wood, Hubba, with 20,000 soldiers, cowardly came upon our weakened backs, and murdered all with fatal massacre. Amongst the which old Debon, martial knight, with many wounds, was brought unto the death, and Albernact, oppressed with multitude, whilst valiantly he felled his enemies, yielded his life and honour to the dust. He being dead, the soldiers fled amain, and I alone escaped them by flight, to bring you tidings of these accidents.
Not aged Priam, king of stately Troy, grand emperor of barbarous Asia, when he beheld his noble-minded sons slain traitorously by all the Myrmidons, lamented more than I for Albernact.
Not Hecuba, the queen of Ilium, when she beheld the town of Pergamus, her palace burst with all devouring flames, her 50 sons and daughters fresh of hue, murdered by wicked Pyrrhus' bloody sword. shed such sad tears as I for Albernact?
The grief of Niobe, fair Athens' queen, for her 7 sons magnanimous in field, for her 7 daughters fairer than the fairest, is not to be compared with my laments.
In vain you sorrow for the slaughtered prince. In vain you sorrow for his overthrow. He loves not most that doth lament the most, but he that seeks to venge the injury. Think you to quell the enemy's warlike train with childish sobs and womanish laments? Unsheathe your swords, unsheathe your conquering swords, and seek revenge, the comfort for this sore. In Cornwall, where I hold my regiment, even just 10,000 valiant men-at-arms hath Corineius ready at command. All these and more, if need shall more require, hath Corineius ready at command.
And in the fields of martial Cambria, close by the boisterous Iscan's silver streams, where Lightfoot fairies skip from bank to bank, full 20,000 brave, courageous knights, well exercised in feats of chivalry, in manly manner most invincible, young Camber hath with golden victual. All these and more, if need shall more require, I offer up to venge my brother's death.
Thanks, loving uncle, and good brother too, for this revenge, for this sweet word revenge must ease and cease my wrongful injuries. And by the sword of bloody Mars I swear, ne'er shall sweet quiet enter this my front, till I be venged on his traitorous head that slew my noble brother Albernact. Sound drums and trumpets, muster up the camp, for we will straight march to Albania.
Thus we are come victorious conquerors unto the flowing current silver streams, which in memorial of our victory shall be agnominated by our name and talked of by our posterity. For sure I heard before the golden sun posteth his horses to fair Thetis plains to see the water turned into blood, and change his bluish hue to rueful red, by reason of the fatal massacre which shall be made upon the virent plains.
See how the traitor doth presage his harm. See how he glories in his own decay. See how he triumphs at his proper loss. Oh, fortune wild, unstable, fickle, frail.
Methinks I see both armies in the field. The broken lances climb the crystal sky. Some headless lie, some breathless on the ground, and every place is strewed with carcasses. Behold! The grass hath lost his pleasant green, the sweetest sight that ever might be seen.
Aye, traitorous Humber, thou shalt find it so. Yea, to thy cost thou shalt the same behold, with anguish, sorrow, and with sad laments. The grassy plains that now do please thine eyes shall ere the night be colored all with blood. The shady grove which now enclose thy camp and yield sweet savors to thy damned cores shall ere the night be figured all with blood. The profound stream that passeth by thy tents and with his moisture serveth all thy camp shall ere the night converted be to blood. Yea, with the blood of those thy straggling boys. For now revenge shall ease my lingering grief, and now revenge shall glut my longing soul.
Let come what will, I mean to bear it out, and either live with glorious victory, or die with fame renowned for chivalry. He is not worthy of the honeycomb that shuns the hives because the bees have stings. That likes me best is not got with ease, which 1,000 dangers do accompany. For nothing can display our regal mind, which aims at nothing but a golden crown. The only upshot of mine enterprises, were they enchanted in grim Pluto's court, and kept for treasure amongst his hellish crew, I would either quell the triple Cerberus and all the army of his hateful hags, or roll the stone with wretched Sisyphus.
Right, martial be thy thoughts, my noble son, and all thy words, saviour of chivalry. But, warlike Segar, what strange accidents makes you leave the warding of the camp?
To arms, my lord, to honourable arms. Take helm and targe in hand. The Britons come with greater multitude than erst the Greeks brought to the ports of Phrygian Tenedos.
But what saith Segar to these accidents? What counsel gives he in extremities?
Why this, my lord, experience teacheth us that resolution is the sole help at need. And this, my lord, our honour teacheth us, that we be bold in every enterprise. Then since there is no way but fight or die, be resolute, my lord, for victory.
And resolute, Segar, I mean to be. Perhaps some blissful star will favour us, and comfort bring to our perplexed state. Come, let us in, and fortify our camp, so to withstand their strong invasion.
Nay, neighbour Oliver, if you be so what, come, prepare yourself. You shall find two as stout fellows of us as any and all in the north.
No, by my Dorth neighbor Strumbo, I see that you are a man of small consideration that will seek to injure your old friends, one of your familiar guests, and therefore seeing your opinion is to deal without reason. I and my son William will take that course that shall be farthest from reason. How say you, will you have my daughter or no?
Very hard question, neighbour, but I will solve it as I may. What reason have you to demand it of me?
Marry, sir, what reason had you, where my sister was in the barn, to tumble upon the hay and fish her belly?
Thou sayest true. Yeah, but would you have me marry her before? Therefore, no, I scorn her. And you, I scorn you all.
You will not have her then?
No, as I am a true gentleman.
Then will we school you, ere you and we part hence.
Ah. You come in pudding time, or else I'd dress them.
You, Master Saucebox, Lobcock, Coxcomb, you slap sauce, lick fingers. Will you not hear?
Will you speak to me?
I, sir, to you, John lack honesty, little wit. Is you that will have none of me?
No, by my troth, Mistress Nice. Nice. And how fine you can nickname me. I think you were brought up at the University of Bridewell. You have your rhetoric so ready at your tongue's end, as if you were never well warned when you were young.
Why then, Goodman Codshead, if you will have none of me, farewell.
If you be so plain, Mistress Driggle-Draggle, fare you well.
Nay, Master Strumbo, ere you go from hence, we must have more words. You will have none of me, eh? Hi-ya! Woo! Ho! Yeah! Oh well! Upon that condition, I let thee alone.
How now, Master Strumbo? Hath my daughter taught you a new lesson?
Hear you, Goodman Oliver. It'd not be for my ease to have my head broken every day. If we remedy this, then we will agree.
Well, son, well, for you are my son now. All shall be remedied. Daughter, be friends with him.
You are a sweet nut. Devil crack you. Masters, I think it'd be my luck. My first wife was a loving, quiet wench. This, I think, would weary the devil. Which he might be burnt as my other wife was. If not, I must run to the halter for help. Codpiece, I've done that, master. That it is, to be meddling with warm plackets.
Now am I guarded with a host of men whose haughty courage is invincible. Now am I hemmed with troops of soldiers, such as might force Bellona to retire and make her tremble at their puissance. Now sit I, like the mighty god of war, when armed with his coat of adamant, mounted his chariot drawn with mighty bulls, he drove the Argives over Xanthus streams. Now, cursed Humber, doth thy end draw nigh. Down goes the glory of thy victories, and all the fame and all thy high renown shall in a moment yield to Locrine's sword. Thy bragging banners crossed with argent streams, the ornaments of thy pavilions shall all be captivated with this hand, and thou thyself at Albernactus' tomb shall offered be in satisfaction of all the wrongs thou didst him when he lived. But canst thou tell me, brave Thrasimachus, how far we're distant from Humber's camp?
My lord, within yon foul accursed grove that bears the tokens of our overthrow, this Humber hath entrenched his damned camp. March on, my lord, because I long to see the treacherous Scythians sweltering in their gore.
Sweet fortune, favor Locrine with a smile, that I may venge my noble brother's death. And in the midst of stately Troynovant, I'll build a temple to thy deity of perfect marble and of jacinth stones, that it shall pass the high pyramides, which with their tops surmount the firmament.
The armstrong offspring of the doubled knight, stout Hercules, Almena's mighty son, that tamed the monsters of the threefold world and rid the oppressed from the tyrant's yokes, did never show such valiantness in a fight, as I will now for noble Albernact.
Full fourscore years hath Corineius lived, sometime in war, sometime in quiet peace, and yet I feel myself to be as strong as erst I was in summer of mine age, able to toss this great unwieldy club which hath been painted with my foeman's brains. And with this club I'll break the strong array of Humber and his straggling soldiers, or lose my life amongst the thicket's priss, and die with honor in my latest days. Yet ere I die, they all shall understand what force lies in stout Corineius' hand.
And if Thrasymachus distract the fight, either for weakness or for cowardice, let him not boast that Brutus was his aim, or that brave Corineius was his sire.
Then courage, soldiers, first for your safety, next for your peace, last for your victory.
Art thou that Humber, prince of fugitives, that by thy treason slewst young Albernact?
I am his son that slew young Albernact. And if thou take not heed, proud Phrygian, I'll send thy soul unto the Stygian lake, there to complain of Humber's injuries.
You triumph, sir, before the victory, for Corineius is not so soon slain. But cursed Scythians, you shall rue the day that ere you came into Albania. So perish they that envy Britain's wealth, so let them die with endless infamy that seeks his sovereign's overthrow. Would this my club might aggravate his woe.
Where may I find some desert wilderness, where I may breathe out curse as I would, and scare the earth with my condemning voice, where every echo's repercussion may help me to bewail mine overthrow, and aid me in my sorrowful laments? Where may I find some hollow, uncouth rock where I may damn, condemn, and ban my fill the heavens, the hell, the earth, the air, the fire, and utter curses to the concave sky, which may infect the airy regions and light upon the Briton Locrine's head? You ugly sprites that in cocytus mourn and gnash your teeth with dolorous laments, you fearful dogs that in black leaf howl and scare the ghosts with your wide open throats, you ugly ghosts that flying from these dogs do plunge yourselves in puri flegiton. Come, all of you, and with your shirking notes accompany the Britons' conquering host. Come, fierce Erinus, horrible with snakes. Come, ugly furies, armed with your whips, and threefold judges of black Tartarus, and all the army of you hellish fiends with newfound torment rack proud Locrine's bones. Oh God, oh stars, damned be the gods and stars that did not drown me in fair Thetis' plains. Cursed be the sea that with outrageous waves, with surging billows, did not rive my ships against the rocks of high Serania, or swallow me into her watery gulf. Would God we had arrived upon the shore where Polyphemus and the Cyclops dwell, where the bloody anthrophagy with greedy jaws devours the wandering wights. But why comes Albernact's bloody ghost to bring a corsive to our miseries? Is not enough to suffer shameful flight, but we must be tormented now with ghosts, with apparitions fearful to behold?
Revenge. Revenge for blood.
So naught will satisfy your wandering ghost but dire revenge. Nothing but Humber's full, because he conquered you in Albany. Now by my soul, Humber would be condemned to Tantal's hunger, or Ixion's wheel, or to the vulture of Prometheus, rather than this murderer were undone, when, as I die, I'll drag thy cursed ghost through all the rivers of foul Erebus, through burning sulphur of the limbo lake, to allay the burning fury of that heat that rages in mine everlasting soul.
Vindicta. Vindicta.
Quam non ogolici mandata severe tyranni, non putuit Juno vincerli visitamur. Stout Hercules, the mirror of the world, son to Alamena and great Jupiter, after so many conquests won in field, after so many monsters quelled by force, yielded his valiant heart to Omphale, a fearful woman, void of manly strength. She took the club and wore the lion's skin. He took the wheel and maidenly gan spin. So Marshal Locrine, cheered with victory, falleth in love with Humber's concubine, and so forgetteth peerless Gwendoline. His uncle Corineius storms at this, and forceth Locrine for his grace to sue. Lo, hear the sum, the process doth ensue.
As from the fury of Bellona's broils, with sound of drum and trumpet's melody, the Briton king returns triumphantly. The Scythians, slain with great occasion, do equalize the grass in multitude, and with their blood have stained the streaming brooks, offering their bodies and their dearest blood as sacrifice to Albernactus' ghost. Now, cursed Humber, hast thou paid thy due for thy deceits and crafty treacheries, for all thy guises and damned stratagems, with loss of life, and ever-during shame. Where are thy horses trapped with burnished gold, thy trampling coursers ruled with foaming bits? Where are thy soldiers, strong and numberless, thy valiant captains and thy noble peers? Even as the country clowns with sharpest scythes do mow the withered grass from off the earth, or as the plowman with his piercing share renteth the bowels of the fertile fields and rippeth up the roots with razors keen, so Locrine with his mighty curtle-axe hath cropped off the heads of all thy Huns. So Locrine's peers have daunted all thy peers and drove thine host into confusion, that thou mayst suffer penance for thy fault and die for murdering valiant Albernact.
And thus, yea, thus shall all the rest be served that seek to enter Albion 'gainst our wills. If the brave nation of the Troglodytes, if all the coal-black Ethiopians, if all the forces of the Amazons, if all the hosts of the barbarian lands should dare to enter this our little world, soon should they rue their overbold attempts, and after us our progeny may say, there lie the beasts that sought to usurp our land.
Aye, they are beasts that seek to usurp our land, and like to brutish beasts they shall be served. For mighty Jove, the supreme king of heaven, that guides the concourse of the meteors and rules the motion of the azure sky, fights always for the Britons' safety. But stay, methinks I hear some shrieking noise that draweth near to our pavilion.
What prince soe'er adorned with golden crown doth sway the regal sceptre in his hand, and thinks no chance can ever throw him down, or that his state shall everlasting stand? Let him behold poor Estrild in this plight, the perfect platform of a troubled wight. Once was I guarded with mavortial bands, compassed with princes of the noble blood. Now am I fallen into my foemen's hands, and with my death must pacify their mood. O life, the harbour of calamities! O death, the haven of all miseries! I could compare my sorrows to thy woe, thou wretched queen of wretched Pergamus, but that thou viewest thine enemies' overthrow, nigh to the rock of high Caphareus, thou sawest their death, and then departed thence. I must abide the victor's insolence. The gods that pitied thy continual grief transformed thy corpse, and with thy corpse thy care. Poor Estrild lives despairing of relief, for friends in trouble are but few and rare. What said I few? I few, or none at all, for cruel death made havoc of them all. Thrice happy they whose fortune was so good to end their lives, and with their lives their woes. Thrice hapless I, whom fortune so withstood that cruelly she gave me to my foes. O soldiers, is there any misery to be compared to fortune's treachery?
Camber, this same should be the Scythian queen.
So may we judge by her lamenting words.
So fair a dame mine eyes did never see. With floods of woe she seems overwhelmed to be.
O Locrine, hath she not a cause for to be sad?
She have cause to weep for Humber's death, and shed salt tears for her overthrow. Locrine may well bewail his proper grief. Locrine may move his own peculiar woe. He, being conquered, died a speedy death, and felt not long his lamentable smart. I, being conqueror, live a lingering life, and feel the force of Cupid's sudden stroke. I gave him cause to die a speedy death. He left me cause to wish a speedy death. Oh, that sweet face, painted with nature's dye, those roseal cheeks mixed with the snowy white, that decent neck surpassing ivory, those comely breasts which Venus well might spite. are like to snares which wily fowlers wrought, wherein my yielding heart is prisoner caught. The golden tresses of her dainty hair, which shine like rubies glittering with the sun, have so entrapped poor Locrine's lovesick heart that from the same no way it can be won. How true is that which oft I heard declare, one dram of joy must have a pound of care.
Hard is their fall who from a golden crown are cast into a sea of wretchedness.
Hard is their thrall who by Cupid's frown are wrapped in waves of endless carefulness.
O kingdom object to all miseries!
O love, the extremest of all extremities!
My lord, in ransacking the Scythian tents, I found this lady, and to manifest that earnest zeal I bear unto your grace, I here present her to your majesty.
He lies, my lord. I found the lady first, and here present her to your majesty.
Presumptuous villain, wilt thou take my prize?
Nay, rather thou deprivest me of my right.
Resign thy title, caitiff, unto me, or with my sword I'll pierce thy coward's loins.
Your soft words, good sir, 'tis not enough to speak. Barking dog doth seldom strangers bite.
Unreverend villains, strive you in our sight. Take them hence, jailer, to the dungeon. There let them lie and try their quarrel out. But thou, fair princess, be no whit dismayed, but rather joy that Locrine favors thee.
How can he favor me that slew my spouse?
The chance of war, my love, took him from thee.
But Locrine was the causer of his death.
He was an enemy to Locrine's state, and slew my noble brother Albernact.
But he was linked to me in marriage bond, and would you have me love his slaughterer?
Better to live than not to live at all.
Better to die renowned for chastity than live with shame and endless infamy. What would the common sort report of me if I forget my love and cleave to thee?
Kings need not fear the vulgar sentences.
But ladies must regard their honest name.
Is it a shame to live in marriage bonds?
No, but to be a strumpet to a king.
If thou wilt yield to Locrine's burning love, thou shalt be queen of fair Albania.
But Gwendoline will undermine my state.
On mine honor thou shalt have no harm.
Then, lo, brave Locrine, Estrild yields to thee. And by the gods whom thou dost invocate, by the dead ghost of thy deceased sire, by thy right hand, and by thy burning love, take pity on poor Estrild's wretched thrall.
Hath Locrine then forgot his Gwendoline, that thus he courts the Scythian's paramour? What? Are the words of brutes so soon forgot? And are my deserts so quickly out of mind? Have I been faithful to thy sire, now dead? Have I protected thee from Humber's hands? And dost thou quit me with ingratitude? Is this the guerdon for my grievous wounds? Is this the honour for my labours past? Now by my sword, Locrine, I swear to thee, this injury of thine shall be repaid.
Uncle, scorn you your royal sovereign, as if we stood for ciphers in the court? Upbraid you me with those your benefits? Why, it was a subject's duty so to do. What you have done for our deceased sire we know, and all know you have your reward.
Avaunt, proud princox! Bravest thou me withal? Assure thyself, though thou be emperor, thou ne'er shalt carry this unpunished.
Pardon my brother, noble Corineius. Pardon this once, and it shall be amended.
Cousin, Remember Brutus's latest words, how he desired you to cherish them. Let not this fault so much incense your mind, which is not yet past all remedy.
Then, Locrine, lo, I reconcile myself. But as thou lovest thy life, so love thy wife. But if thou violate those promises, blood and revenge shall light upon thy head. Come, let us back to stately Troy Navant, where all these matters shall be settled.
Millions of devils wait upon thy soul. Legions of spirits vex thy impious ghost. 10,000 torments rack thy cursed bones. Let everything that hath the use of breath be instruments and workers of thy death.
What basilisk was hatched in this place, where everything consumed is to naught? What fearful fury haunts these cursed groves, where not a root is left for Humber's meat? Hath fell Alecto with envenomed blast breathed forth poison in these tender plains? Hath triple Cerberus with contagious foam sowed a cantum amongst these withered herbs? Hath dreadful Fames with her charming rods brought barrenness on every fruitful tree? What? Not a root, no fruit, no beast, no bird to nourish Humber in this wilderness? What would you more, you fiends of Erebus? My very entrails burn for want of drink. My bowels cry, Humber, give us some meat. But wretched Humber can give you no meat. These foul accursed groves afford no meat. These fruitless soil, this ground, this brings forth no meat. The gods, hard-hearted gods, yield me no meat. Then how can Humber give you any meat?
How do you, masters? How do you? How have you escaped hanging this long while? Faith, I have escaped many a scouring this year. I thank God I've passed them all with a good couragio. My wife and I are in great love and charity now, thank my manhood and my strength. For I will tell you, my masters, upon a certain day at night I came home, to say the very truth, my stomach full of wine, and ran up into the chamber where my wife, soberly, sat rocking a little baby, leaning her back against the bed, singing lullaby. Now, when she saw me come with my nose foremost, thinking I'd been drunk, well, I was, indeed, she snatched up a faggot stick in her hand and came furiously marching towards me with a big face, as though she would have eaten me at a bit, thundering out these words unto me: "Thou drunken knave, where hast thou been so long? I shall teach thee how to be nightmare another time." And so she began to play knave's trumps. Now, I trembled, fearing she would set her 10 commandments in my face. I ran within her, and taking her lustily by the middle, I carried her valiantly to the bed, and flinging her upon it, flung myself upon her. And there I delighted her so with the sport that I made. Ever after she would call me sweet husband, and so banished brawling forever. See the good will of the wench. She brought with her a portion, a yard of land, and by that I'm now become one of the richest men in the parish. Well, masters, what's the clock? Is it now breakfast time? You shall see what meat I have here for my breakfast.
Was ever land so fruitless as this land? Was ever grove so graceless as this grove? Was ever soil so barren as this soil? Oh no, the land where hungry Fames dwelt may no wise equalize this cursed land. No, Even the climate of the torrid zone brings forth more fruit than this accursed grove. Ne'er came sweet Ceres, ne'er came Venus here. Triptolemus, the god of husbandmen, ne'er sowed his seed in this foul wilderness. The hunger-bitten dogs of Acheron, chased from the ninefold Puriflegiton, have set their footsteps in this damned ground. The iron-hearted furies armed with snakes scattered huge hydras all over the plains, which have consumed the grass, the herbs, the trees, which have drunk up the flowing water springs. Thou, great commander of the starry sky, that guidest the life of every mortal wight, from the enclosures of the fleeting clouds, from the rain down some food, or else I faint and die. Pour down some drink, or else I faint and die. Oh, Jupiter, hast thou sent Mercury in clownish shape to minister some food, some meat, some meat, some meat?
Oh, sir, you are deceived. I am not Mercury. I am Strumbo.
Give me some meat, villain. Give me some meat, or against this rock I'll dash thy cursed brains and rent thy bowels with my bloody hands. Give me some meat, villain. Give me some meat.
By the faith of my body, good fellow, I'd rather give an whole ox than thou should serve me in that sort. Dash out me brains. Horrible. Terrible. I think I have a quarry of stones in my pocket. Yeah!
Lo, here the gift of fell ambition, of usurpation and of treachery. Lo, here the harms that wait upon all those that do intrude themselves on others' lands, which are not under their dominion.
7 years hath aged Corineius lived, to Locrine's grief and fair Estrild's woe, and 7 years more he hopeth yet to live. O supreme Jove, annihilate this thought. Should he enjoy the air's fruition, should he enjoy the benefit of life, should he contemplate the radiant sun that makes my life equal to dreadful death? Venus, convey this monster for the earth that disobeyeth thus thy sacred hests. Cupid, convey this monster to dark hell that disannuls thy mother's sugared laws. Mars, with thy target all beset with flames, with murthering blade, bereave him of his life that hindereth Locrine in his sweetest joys. And yet, for all his diligent aspect, his wrathful eyes piercing like lynx's eyes, well have I overmatched his subtlety. Nigh Durulitum, by the pleasant lea where brackish Thames slides with silver streams, making a breach unto the grassy downs, a curious arch of costly marble fraught hath Locrine framed underneath the ground, the walls whereof, garnished with diamonds, with ophirs, rubies, glistering emeralds, and interlaced with sun-bright carbuncles, lighten the room with artificial day. And from the lea, with water-flowing pipes, the moisture is derived into this arch, where I have placed fair Estrild secretly. Thither, eftsoons, accompanied with my page, I covertly visit my heart's desire, without suspicion of the meanest eye, for love aboundeth still with policy. And thither still means Locrine to repair, till Atropus cut off mine uncle's life.
Oh, vita misero longa. Felici brevis eo malorum fames extremum malum. Long have I lived in this desert cave, with eating haws and miserable roots, devouring leaves and beastly excrements. Caves were my beds, and stones my pillow bears. Fear was my sleep, and horror was my dream. For still methought at every boisterous blast, now Locrine comes, now Humber, thou must die. So that for fear and hunger, Humber's mind can never rest, but always trembling stands. Oh, what Danubius now may quench my thirst? What Euphrates, what light-foot Euripus may now allay the fury of that heat which, raging in mine entrails, eats me up? You ghastly devils of the ninefold Styx, you damned ghosts of joyless Acheron, you mournful souls vexed in Abysses' faults, you coal-black devils of Inverness pond, come, with your flesh hooks rent my famished arms, these arms that have sustained their master's life. Come, with your razors rip my bowels up, with your sharp firefox crack my starved bones. Use me as you will, so Humber may not live. Cursed gods that rule the starry poles, accursed Jove, king of the cursed gods, cast down your lightning on poor Humber's head, that I may leave this death-like life of mine. What? Hear you not? And shall not Humber die? Nay, I will die, though the gods say nay. And, gentle Abbey, take my troubled corpse, take it, and keep it from all mortal eyes, that none may say, when I have lost my breath, the very floods conspired against Humber's death.
En coedem sequitur coedis in coede quiesco. Humber is dead. Joy, heavens, leap, earth, dance, trees. Now mayest thou reach thy apples, Tantalus, and with them feed thy hunger-bitten limbs. Now, Sisyphus, leave tumbling of thy rock, and rest thy restless bones upon the same. Unbind Ixion, cruel Radamanth, and lay proud Humber on the whirling wheel. Back will I post to Hellmouth Tanarius, and pass Coictus to the Elysian fields, and tell my father Brutus of these news.
Non tam tenecrius, exe stuat etna caveris, laesae furtivo quam cum mulieris amore. Medea, seeing Jason leave her love and choose the daughter of the Theban king, went to her devilish charms to work revenge, and raising up the triple Hecate with all the rout of the condemned fiends, framed a garland by her magic skill, with which she wrought Jason and Creon's ill. So Gwendoline, seeing herself misused, and Humber's paramour possess her place, flies to the dukedom of Cornubia, and with her brother, stout Thrasimachus, gathering a power of Cornish soldiers, gives battle to her husband and his host, nigh to the river of great Mercia. The chances of this dismal massacre, that which ensueth shortly, will unfold.
But tell me, cousin, died my brother so? Now who is left a helpless Albion, that as a pillar might uphold our state, that might strike terror to our daring foes? Now who is left to hapless Brittany, that might defend her from the barbarous hands of those that still desire her ruinous fall, and seek to work her downfall and decay?
Aye, uncle, death is our common enemy, and none but death can match our matchless power. Witness the fall of Albionus' crew, witness the fall of Humber and his Huns, and this foul death hath now increased our woe by taking Corineius from this life, and in his room leaving us worlds of care.
But none may more bewail his mournful hearse than I, that am the issue of his loins. Now foul before that cursed Humber's throat that was the causer of his lingering wound.
Tears cannot raise him from the dead again. But where's my lady, Mistress Gwendoline?
In Cornwall, Locrine is my sister now, providing for my father's funeral.
And let her there provide her mourning weeds and mourn forever her own widowhood. Ne'er shall she come within our palace gate to countercheck brave Locrine in his love. Go, boy, to Deborlitum down the lea unto the arch where lovely Estrild lies. Bring her and Sabrine straight unto the court. She shall be queen in Gwendoline's room. Let others wail for Corineius' death. I mean not so to macerate my mind for him that barred me from my heart's desire.
Hath Locrine then forsook his Gwendoline? Is Corineius' death so soon forgot? If there be gods in heaven, as sure there be, if there be fiends in hell, as needs there must, they will revenge this thy notorious wrong, and power their plagues upon thy cursed head.
What pratest thou, peasant, to thy sovereign? Or art thou strucken in some ecstasy? Dost thou not tremble at our royal looks? Dost thou not quake when mighty Locrine frowns, thou beardless boy? Were't not that Locrine scorns to vex his mind with such a heartless child? With the sharp point of this my battle axe, I'd send thy soul to Puriphlegeton.
Though I be young and of a tender age, yet will I cope with Locrine when he dares. My noble father with his conquering sword slew the 2 giants, kings of Aquitaine. Thrasimachus is not so degenerate that he should fear and tremble at the looks or taunting words of a venereal squire.
Menacest thou thy royal sovereign, uncivil, not beseeming such as you, injurious traitor, for he is no less that at defiance standeth with his king. Leave thou these taunts, leave these thy bragging words, unless thou mean to leave thy wretched life.
If princes stain their glorious dignity with ugly spots of monstrous infamy, they lease their former estimation and throw themselves into a hell of hate.
Wilt thou abuse my gentle patience, as though thou didst our high displeasure scorn? Proud boy, that thou mayest know thy prince is moved, yea, greatly moved, at this thy swelling pride, we banish thee forever from our court.
Then loose, O Locrine, look unto thyself. Thrasimachus will avenge this injury.
Farewell, proud boy, and learn to use thy tongue.
Alas, my lord, you should have called to mind the latest words that Brutus spake to you, how he desired you by the obedience that children ought to bear unto the sire, to love and favor Lady Gwendoline. Consider this, that if the injury do move her mind, as certainly it will, war and dissension follows speedily. What though her power be not so great as yours? Have you not seen a mighty elephant slain by the biting of a silly mouse? Even so, the chance of war inconstant is.
Peace, uncle, peace, and cease to talk hereof. For he that seeks by whispering this or that to trouble Locrine in his sweetest life, let him persuade himself to die the death.
Oh, say me, page, tell me, where is the king? Wherefore doth he send for me to the court? Is it to die? Is it to end my life? Say me, sweet boy, tell me, and do not feign.
No, trust me, madam. If you will credit the little honesty that is yet left me, there is no such danger as you fear. But prepare yourself. Yonder is the king.
Then, Estrild, lift thy dazzled spirits up and bless that blessed time, that day, that hour that warlike Locrine first did favour thee. Peace to the King of Brittany, my love. Peace to all those that love and favour him.
Oh, doth Estrild fall with such submission before her servant, King of Albion? Arise, fair lady, leave this lowly cheer. Lift up those looks that cherish Locrine's heart, that I may freely view that roseal face which so entangled hath my lovesick breast. Now to the court, where we will court it out and pass the night and day in Venus sports. Frolic, brave peers, be joyful with your king.
You gentle winds, that with your modest blast pass through the circuit of the heavenly vault, enter the clouds unto the throne of Jove, and there bear my prayers to his all-seeing ears. For Locrine hath forsaken Gwendoline, and learnt to love proud Humber's concubine. You happy sprites, that in the concave sky with pleasant joy enjoy your sweetest love, shed forth those tears with me, which then you shed, when first you would your ladies to your wills. Those tears are fittest for my woeful case, since Locrine shuns my nothing pleasant face. Blush, heavens, blush, sun, and hide thy shining beams. Shadow thy radiant locks in gloomy clouds. Deny thy cheerful light unto the world, and nothing reigns but falsehood and deceit. What said I? Falsehood? Aye, that filthy crime, for Locrine hath forsaken Gwendoline. Behold, the heavens do wail for Gwendoline. The shining sun doth blush for Gwendoline. The liquid air doth weep for Gwendoline. The very ground doth groan for Gwendoline. Aye, fairer milder than the Briton king, for he rejecteth luckless Gwendoline.
Sister, complaints are bootless in this cause. This open wrong must have an open plague. This plague must be repaid with grievous war. This war must finish with Locrine's death. His death will soon extinguish our complaints.
Oh no! His death will more augment my woes. He was my husband, brave Thrasimachus, more dear to me than the apple of mine eye. Who can I find in heart to work his scathe?
Madam, if not your proper injuries, nor my exile can move you to revenge, think on our father Corineius' words. His words to us stand always for a law. Should Locrine live that caused my father's death? Should Locrine live that now divorceth you? The heavens, the earth, the air, the fiery claims, and then why should we all deny, and why should all we deny the same?
Then henceforth, farewell, womanish complaints. All childish pity henceforth then, farewell. But, cursed Locrine, look unto thyself, for Nemesis, the mistress of revenge, sits armoured at all points on our dismal blades. And cursed Estrild, that inflamed his heart, shall, if I live, die a reproachful death.
Mother, though nature makes me to lament my luckless father's froward lechery, yet for he wrongs my lady mother thus, I, if I could, myself would work his death.
See, madame, see, the desire of revenge is in the children of a tender age. Forward, brave soldiers, into Mercia, where we shall brave the coward to his face.
Tell me, Assarachus, are the Cornish chuffs in such great number come to Mercia? And have they pitched there their petty host, so close unto our royal mansion?
They are, my lord, and mean incontinent to bid defiance to your majesty.
It makes me laugh to think that Gwendoline should have the heart to come in arms against me.
Alas, my lord, the horse will run amain, whereas the spur doth gall him to the bone. Jealousy, Locrine, hath a wicked sting.
Say'st thou so, Estrild, beauty's paragon? Well, we will try her choler to the proof, and make her know Locrine can brook no braves. March on, Assarachus, thou must lead the way and bring us to their proud pavilion.
Behold, the circuit of the azure sky throws forth sad throbs and grievous suspires, prejudicating Locrine's overthrow. The fire casteth forth sharp darts of flames. The great foundation of the triple world trembleth and quaketh with a mighty noise, presaging bloody massacres at hand. The wandering birds that flutter in the dark when hellish night in cloudy chariot seated casteth her mists on shady Tellus' face with sable mantles covering all the earth, now flies abroad amid the cheerful day, foretelling some unwonted misery. The snarling curs of darkened Tartarus, sent from Avernus ponds by Radamath, with howling ditties pester every wood. The watery ladies and the lightfoot fawns, and all the rabble of the woody nymphs are trembling, hide themselves in shady groves, and shroud themselves in hideous hollow pits. The boisterous Boreas thundereth forth revenge. The stony rocks cry out on sharp revenge. The thorny bushes pronounceth dire revenge. Now, Corineius, stay and see revenge, and feed thy soul with Locrine's overthrow. Behold, they come, the trumpets call them forth, the roaring drums summon the soldiers. Lo, where their army glittereth on the plains, throw forth thy lightning, mighty Jupiter, and power thy plagues on cursed Locrine's head.
What? Is the tiger started from his cave? Is Gwendoline come from Cornubia, that thus she braveth Locrine to the teeth? And hast thou found thine armor, pretty boy, accompanied with these thy straggling mates? Oh, believe me, but this enterprise was bold, and well deserveth commendation.
Aye, Locrine, traitorous Locrine, we are come with full pretence to seek thine overthrow. What have I done that thou shouldst scorn me thus? What have I said that thou shouldst me reject? Have I been disobedient to thy words? Have I bewrayed thy arcane secrecy? Have I dishonored thy marriage bed with filthy crimes or with lascivious lusts? Nay, it is thou that hast dishonored it. Thy filthy minds are come with filthy lusts, yieldeth unto affection's filthy darts. Unkind thou wrong'st thy first and truest fear. Unkind thou wrong'st thy best and dearest friend. Unkind thou scorn'st all skilful Brutus' laws, forgetting father, uncle, and thyself.
Believe me, Locrine, but the girl is wise, and well would seem to make a vestal nun. How finely frames she her oration.
Locrine, we came not here to fight with words that can never win the victory. But for you are so merry in your thumps, unsheath your swords and try it out by force, that we may see who has the better hand.
Think'st thou to dare me, bold Thrasimachus? Think'st thou to fear me with thy taunting braves? Or do we seem too weak to cope with thee? Soon shall I show thee my fine cutting blade, and with my sword, the messenger of death, seal thee an acquittance for thy bold attempts. Oh, fair Estrild, we have lost the field. Thrasimachus hath won the victory, and we are left to be a laughingstock, scoffed at by those that are our enemies. 10,000 soldiers armed with sword and shield prevail against 100,000 men. Thrasimachus, incensed with fuming ire, rageth among the faint-heart soldiers, like to grim Mars when covered with his targe he fought with Diomedes in the field, close by the banks of silver Simois. Oh, lovely Estrild, now the chase begins. Ne'er shall we see the stately Troinovant mounted on the coursers garnished all with pearls, nor shall we view the fair Concordia, unless as captives we be thither brought. Shall Locrine then be taken prisoner by such a youngling as Thrasimachus? Shall Gwendoline captivate my love? Ne'er shall mine eyes behold that dismal hour, ne'er will I view that ruthful spectacle, for with my sword, this sharp curtal axe, I'll cut in sunder my accursed heart. But oh, you judges of the ninefold Styx, which with incessant torments rack the ghosts within the bottomless abysses pits, you gods, commanders of the heavenly spheres, whose wills and laws irrevocable stands, forgive this foul accursed sin. Forget, O gods, this foul condemned fault. And now my sword, that in so many fights hast saved the life of Brutus and his son, end now his life that wisheth still for death. Work now his death that wisheth still for death. Work now his death that hateth still his life. Farewell, fair Estrild, beauty's paragon, framed in the front of forlorn miseries. Ne'er shall mine eyes behold thy sunshine eyes, but when we meet in the Elysian fields. Thither I go before with hastened pace. Farewell, vain world, and thine enticing snares. Farewell, foul sin, and thy enticing pleasures. And welcome, death, the end of mortal smart. Welcome to Locrine's overburdened heart.
Break, heart, with sobs and grievous suspires. Stream forth, you tears, from forth my watery eyes. Help me to mourn for warlike Locrine's death. Pour down, you tears, you watery regions, for mighty Locrine is bereft of life. O fickle fortune, O unstable world, what else are all things that this globe contains but a confused chaos of mishaps, wherein, as in a glass, we plainly see that all our life is but a tragedy. Since mighty kings are subject to mishap, aye, mighty kings are subject to mishap. Since martial Locrine is bereft of life, shall Estrild live, then, after Locrine's death? Shall love of life bar her from Locrine's sword? Oh no, this sword, which hath bereft his life, shall now deprive me of my fleeting soul. Strengthen these hands, O mighty Jupiter, that I may end my woeful misery. Locrine, I come. Locrine, I follow thee.
What doleful sight, what rueful spectacle have fortune offered to my hapless heart. My father slain with such a fatal sword, my mother murdered by a mortal wound. What Thracian dog, what barbarous Myrmidon would not relent at such a rueful case? What fierce Achilles, what had stony flint would not bemoan this mournful tragedy? Locrine, the map of magnanimity, lies slaughtered in this foul, accursed cave. Estrild, the perfect pattern of renown, nature's sole wonder, in whose wondrous, beauteous breasts all heavenly grace and virtue was enshrined. Both massacred, are dead within this cave, and with them dies fair Pallas and sweet love. Here lies a sword, and Sebren have a heart. This blessed sword shall cut my cursed heart, and bring my soul into my parents' ghosts, and that they live and view our tragedy may mourn our case with mournful plaudities. Ay me, my virgin's hands are too weak to penetrate the bulwark of my breast. My fingers used to tune the amorous lute are not to force to hold this steely glaive. So I am left to wail my parents' death, not able for to work my proper death. Ah, Locrine, honoured for thy nobleness, ah, Estrild, famous for thy constancy, ill may they fare that wrought your mortal ends.
Search, soldiers, search! Find Locrine and his love! Find the proud strumpet Humber's concubine that I made change those her so pleasing looks to pale and ignominious aspect. Find me the issue of their cursed love. Find me young Sabrin, Locrine's only joy, that I may glut my mind with lukewarm blood, swiftly distilling from the bastard's breast. My father's ghost still haunts me for revenge, crying, "Revenge my over-hastened death." My brother's exile and mine own divorce banish remorse clean from my brazen heart, all mercy from mine adamantine breasts.
Thy husband, lovely Gwendoline, that wanted was to guide our stainless steps, enjoy his light, see where he murdered lies by luckless lot, and forward frowning fate. And by him lies his lovely paramour, fair Estrild, gored with a dismal sword. And as it seems, both murdered by themselves, clasping each other in their feebled arms with loving zeal, as if for company the uncontented corpse were yet content to pass foul sticks in Charon's ferryboat.
And hath proud Estrild then prevented me? Hath she escaped Gwendoline's wrath violently by cutting off her life? Would God she had the monstrous Hydra's lives, that every hour she might have died a death worse than the swing of old Axion's wheel, and every hour revived to die again, as Titius, bound to houseless Caucason, doth feed the substance of his own mishap, and every day for want of food doth die, and every night doth live again to die. But stay, methinks I hear some fainting voice, mournfully weeping for their luckless death.
You mountain nymphs which in these deserts reign, cease off your hasty chase of savage beasts. Prepare to see a heart oppressed with care. Address your ears to hear a mournful style. No humane strength, no work can work my wheel. Care in my heart, so tyrant doth like deal. You dryads and lightfoot satyri, you gracious fairies which at evening tide your closets leave with heavenly beauty stored, and on your shoulders spread your golden locks. You savage bears in caves and darkened dens, come wail with me in the martial Locrine's death. Come mourn with me for beauteous Estrild's death. Ah, loving parents, little do you know what sorrow Sabrin suffers for your thrall.
But may this be? And is it possible? Live Sabrin yet to expiate my wrath? Fortune, I thank thee for this courtesy, and let me never see one prosperous hour, if Sabrin die not a reproachful death.
Hard-hearted death, that when the wretched call art furthest off, and seldom hearest at all. But in the midst of fortune's good success, uncalled comes and shears our life in twain. When will that hour, that blessed hour, draw nigh, when poor distressed Sebron may be gone? Sweet Atropos, cut off my fatal thread. What art thou, death? Shalt not poor Sebron die?
Yes, damsel, yes. Sabrin shall surely die, though all the world should seek to save her life, and not a common death shall Sabrin die, but after strange and grievous punishments shortly inflicted upon thy bastard's head, thou shalt be cast into the cursed streams, and feed the fishes with thy tender flesh.
And think'st thou then, thou cruel homicide, that these thy deeds shall be unpunished? No, traitor, no, the gods will venge these wrongs, the fiends of hell will mark these injuries. Never shall these blood-sucking masty curs bring wretched Sebrin to her latest home, for I myself, in spite of thee and thine, mean to abridge my former destinies, and that which Locrine's sword could not perform, this pleasant stream shall bring to pass.
One mischief follows on another's neck. Who would have thought so young a maid as she, with such a courage, would have sought her death? And for because this river was the place where little Sabrin resolutely died, Sabrin forever shall this same be called. And as for Locrine, our deceased spouse, because he was the son of mighty Brute, to whom we owe our country, lives and goods, he shall be buried in a stately tomb, close by his aged father Brutus' bones, with such great pomp and great solemnity as well beseems so brave a prince as he. Let Estrild lie without the shallow vaults, without the honour due unto the dead, because she was the author of this war. Retire, brave soldiers, unto Troynovant, where we shall celebrate these exequies and place young Locrine in his father's tomb. Lo! Hear the end of lawless treachery, of usurpation and ambitious pride. And they that for their private amours dare turmoil our land and set their broils abroach, let them be warned by these premises. And as a woman was the only cause that civil discord was then stirred up, so let us pray for that renowned maid that 38 years the sceptre swayed in quiet peace and sweet felicity. And every wight that seeks her grace's smart, would that this sword were pierced in his heart.
And lo, there we come to an end. We got there. We got there in the end. We would say at this stage that we're going to have a lovely, lengthy discussion, but I suspect we're not. We started late today, and it got very, very tight around the edges. We were testing how far we could get. It's really interesting how different plays move at different paces. You know, even in a similar word count to the point where we should have been with other plays of this length, we were well behind in places. So that's always interesting. Anyone who's needs to immediately disappear. If you've got any thoughts, wave your hand now to throw at this. Otherwise, anyone who fancies staying around for another 10 minutes, hold your peace for a moment. Anyone who needs to desperately rush away. all the hardy souls. We did lose Dan. We he had to leave early. It's really interesting comparing this with. I'm going to take this off now. This with the first session, getting a sense of flow. It was really interesting for me. I didn't feel that Gwendoline going evil felt wrong this time. It felt weirdly like it worked. Whereas when we did it last time, because it was nice Gwendoline, no Gwendoline, evil Gwendoline, it didn't quite work. And I felt doubling it with Arte, which was purely a last minute accident, though I'd sort of vaguely thought of it in advance. Thought that worked really well. It's like you've been possessed. Rather than just pure psychology. How was Gwendoline for you, Sarah?
Gwendoline was great, actually. When I first read that I'd been cast as her, I was like, oh God, that's tricky, because it's just she kind of pivots, and like how do you find that change? But the way I decided to play her was that she was kind of needy at the beginning, like desperate for approval, wanting Locrine's love. And then, I mean, she only has a couple of speeches, so you've not got a lot to work with. But then when Albernact dies as well, it's like, oh, she wants to show that she's, really invested in his brother's death. She's sharing his pain. So, that gave me the key to sort of finding then the turn, because if she's needy and she's then rejected, that just completely destroys her, really. And I think it's out of her grief and her desolation that she finds these depths of, first of all, anguish, and then anger, and then just she turns into a complete psychopath, which was great fun. Yeah.
Helen.
Supposing we take Gwendoline the other way round. Supposing we put Gwendoline as a man. Then Gwendoline is merely taking proper, if somewhat bloody, revenge.
That's true.
The reason that Gwendoline is difficult is because Gwendoline is a woman and she's called Gwendoline. And we don't expect Gwendoline to start murdering her cousins.
No, you expect improper use of tea and sugar. Liza.
I would take issue with that. I think Gwendoline has made what the pro wrestling people call her face heel turn. When she offers to kill Sabrin, who I think is a boy actor's role. If Estrild and Locrine have only been together 7 years, that is a child, and she threatens that child with unspeakable torture and forces her to kill herself.
Yeah, there's something really quite. I mean, basically, that role seems to mostly spend their time kneeling and praying. There's very little direct actual dialogue with a person. It doesn't seem to be directed to with a few. There's I think 4 speeches for that character, and then Liza, while we're on you, how are you finding the? We put in chat this question. We've had the first session about maybe passing off some of the other bits of dialogue from other characters for Gwendoline and Estrild, so that they have more of a journey throughout the play. How are you finding Estrild?
Well, I don't know. I mean, first of all, for that suggestion, if as an actor playing the character, you can have that journey inside you, you don't necessarily need dialogue to make it explicit. Though who knows?
Stage time, really, just so that she says something occasionally. We've got a lot of random people who don't say very much, and it would be quite nice to reuse their. This is practical doubling questions. If I could remove 1 or 2 annoying characters who function in little or no use, then that might be a thing. But how are you finding as she was?
Well, I really liked it. I like her first speech. I think sets her up as, with all its pastoral floral imagery, I think sets her up as fundamentally a happy person. She's come all the way from Scythia with her husband to invade Britain. There'd be there'd be a case for making her a martial character herself, but she's a martial character who would like flowers.
Yeah, she does have this speech of going, "Isn't England great?" I think
it's so pretty.
Yeah, it's lovely. You know, we should invade here more often.
Yeah,
there's some great stuff here.
And then she loses Humber and weirdly doesn't find him for the 7 years that he then lives.
Yeah, but nobody knows where Humber is. You know,
for all she knows, he's dead. Yeah, and
Lois.
Yeah, I think Humber jumped in the Humber, didn't he? I mean, that's why it's called
by the end. Yes.
But I think Scythian. I think Scythia is actually Scotland. I think there was a belief that Scythians were Scots, or Scots were Scythians, or something.
I thought we were on the Huns for the Scythians. I'm sure we had this discussion last time, but I forgot what the actual.
I don't know. Marlowe's Tamburlaine is a Scythian. I don't know whether this play predates or postdates Tamburlaine, but that I think fixes in the audience's minds what a Scythian is.
Yeah, but I don't think it literally is that. We had this discussion last time about how far away they've come from, and we don't think they've actually come from that far. We think they're from, from just across the waters.
Yeah.
It's just
so the big
as an othering for other people kind of word.
For me, and Humber dies because the land rebels against him because he's a foreigner and he doesn't belong there, and grrr. Estrild, for herself, one question with her would be, how quickly does she turn towards Locrine? How much of a choice does she have? Today, I figured that she had pretty much no choice at all if she wanted to live. Perhaps the author of the play is implying that she's corrupt and light for not wanting to die, as many of the other characters do die when they see they're defeated. Maybe the author is implying that she's light and morally corrupt in that she changes, in that she submits rather than die. And then at the end, Gwendoline blames her for being the cause of all this and won't give her a burial. Even though she did kill herself, she followed the rules. And then Ate herself says a woman was the only cause that civil discord was then stirred up, and then segues into Queen Elizabeth, which seems to me kind of
it's one
suspect.
Hell of an about turn, isn't it?
The Queen would be like, what?
Yeah. So let's talk about Humber, the Monty Python sketch opening, crawling on for food every 5 minutes. It seemed to work better flowing through without stopping and starting here. It did seem like there was a nice journey to it, and even the comedy moments with it felt appropriate. It didn't feel quite as jarring as it did the first time. Tamara, you were Humber, weren't you?
I mean, I'm still thinking back on it because it's weird because it's I realized after I jumped in the river that I was dead, and things were still happening, but this character had this whole journey, and actually the scene felt less Monty Python-esque playing it, and I think you need to play it straight for it to really be funny.
It's the clown who's funny. That during that thing of sitting there eating his lunch, you are not funny. You are desperate.
The more he sets up his little picnic blanket and his sandwich and all of that, while I'm like crawling around looking for roots, the better. Yeah.
Let's leap to the comedy characters. Strumbo, how are we feeling about the journey of Strumbo this time? I have to say I didn't. Even though I knew the story of Strumbo and I knew where all these scenes were going, I didn't follow it as clearly as I think we did the first time round. It didn't, which is nothing to do with performance. I think it's just the nature of Strumbo within the play. I don't know if anyone else felt that. I don't know if Stephen, you felt that. How did you feel about Strumbo?
No journey whatsoever, I don't think, is there? It's just routines. It looked like it was going to tie in somewhere to the plot, but it didn't. They couldn't think of a way to do it. So it's kind of, they obviously got somebody who's good at doing Strumbo stuff. Can't leave him out. it didn't. I don't know really. I mean, it didn't really sit with the rest of the play for me at all.
It only vaguely has that thematic thing of him and his many, many women in his life. So it vaguely thematically links to Locrine, but not at a time when he's doing those things. It doesn't match with when Locrine's doing those things. So it doesn't feel like within the narrative that it's actually commenting on it.
There's a sort of meta-theatrical clown thing which you get a lot of, which is sort of imitating the rhetoric. You know, so some of the kind of high Senecan stuff, you know, with the kind of tone of voice to match. You could have a bit of fun with that in performance as the clown, because the clown has a certain rhetoric as well, and has a certain relationship with language, which the clown wants to be equally sort of flowery and overblown, but it keeps kind of not working. So you could play that a little bit, but just it doesn't really. You need something else to support that as a kind of thread in the play, I think, rather than 4 scenes or 3 scenes or whatever it is. Mm. You know, the play comes first, and then they put the clown in it, I think.
Mm. Lois, how are you finding the journey of Locrine? You know.
Well, again, I sort of think, what journey? You know, he starts out as kind of a non-entity, really, just, you know, loyal son, a brave warrior. Then he sees Estrild and turns into lecherous king, and then tyrant, which seems to follow pretty much immediately. And he suddenly becomes slightly more witty than he, I mean, this is one of the things that really gets me, is that nobody ever seems to have a sense of humor until they become a villain, and then they start being sarcastic and sort of clever. But I mean, that seems to me him pretty much.
Yeah, there's almost the problem we had with Salamis is that the Salamis is the worst part of Salamis. You know, you have this central figure who doesn't actually carry as much weight as perhaps they should. I think it's not nowhere near as a problem in this one than there, especially just the possibility that they are semi-related texts in certain ways. So yeah, I'm very aware that we've gone massively long. Anybody else want to throw in any final thoughts? I'm not going to go around the whole room because there's lots of us and time has passed. So just wave at me if you'd like to throw in any final thoughts about the play. Liza, you're muted, so you're...
I loved my bit parts. I loved the one scene parts. I loved Margery, and I really loved the captain. I think, you know, it's sort of typical clownery in that they come on for their one scene and are never seen again, but they were a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's that the thing that Trompart and Dorothy, and they come on and they sing a song, and then, I mean, Trompart's on quite a lot, but he says bugger all, which, you know, suits me down to a T, but, you know, you can't really do physical clowning on Zoom. It doesn't really work. And it's sort of one of those slightly frustrating things, and we've got this silent clown character, but nowhere to go with it. Anything else? I'm not hurrying you if you're not hurrying me. I can wait. I can wait. Helen.
It was a different experience. Having the speaking character centrally, which is what I did. I did it so the speaker popped up as the big screen, and having so many people not there, you were. It felt very different. I suppose it was partly to do with keeping going.
Yeah, I mean, I think as an entertainment, it flowed quite well. You know, in a sense, you know, obviously this isn't a performance. You know, this is us just sort of mucking about on a Friday. But it has a shape that sort of worked on the whole, and I can sort of see where we can tighten up things and trim things, and you know, in a way that. When we went through this the first time and stopped and start, there was an awful lot of I really enjoyed today, but I didn't enjoy, you know, yesterday, or vice versa, and that problem of us doing it in bits is sometimes we get a distorted sense of how the play actually functions.
I wonder if there's a distinction between product and process here. Elizabeth put in the chat, I think, that she preferred it a bit when she could see the faces, and so do I. I think I didn't enjoy just looking at dead screen. I like looking at people's faces, but in terms of producing an actual product that isn't just for us, I can completely see Helen's point. But I have to say, I didn't enjoy it as much as I normally do because I couldn't see everybody else.
What, because we were shutting down windows and we weren't, we weren't like set up like this.
Yeah.
If we do a through reading like this, I quite like being able to have entrances and exits and the focus being able to be on the people in the scene. A reading as opposed to a discussion. I suppose what you do gain if you have a gallery view and you can see everyone is you gain an audience, and it's a little easier to play to, especially for a clown. But if we're doing full play readings like this, it feels a little more like being on stage and off stage if you're on video or if you're either on video or invisible.
Yeah, and I think there is a case when we're doing this sort of halfway house between the two, that maybe we create a convention where basically we're on stage for the scene you're in throughout, rather than trying to arrange individual exits and entrances, because there were some scenes that are very messy, and we're still working through and tidying up scripts. So there were times when it was sort of chaos. I see lots of hands. I'll go to Eric first, and then Alan.
I found it interesting because when I was reading it, like, okay, I didn't have a lot of time to read it beforehand because life. But when I was reading it, I was thinking that Ate was like an almost unnecessary character, but then like the way that Sarah, because of it's like stopping every once in a while to like introduce things and bridge things and stuff, and you're like, why don't you just move on with the action? But then like the way it was done this time, I mean, okay, obviously I wasn't here for the first reading, but the way it was done in performance, it flowed much better.
Yeah, there are a couple of times where Arte is just responding to the dumb show, which we weren't able to do. And then sometimes she's just filling us back in with the plot, and it was really helpful. And I was sort of going, thank you, Arte, for reminding me what the hell's going on. More of that, please, actually, Arte. Alan.
Yeah, and I think that ran 2.25 hours, just about, straight through, which and worked.
Yes.
I think a lot better than the rather more disjointed first attempt. I think on the way we were playing with today in terms of video off when not on, what we have got is when there is an exit shown in the middle of a scene, it needs to be clarified as to who is actually exiting, because it wasn't always immediately clear. And I was working on the principle that if I was listed as being there in the top stage direction for a scene, I went on, even though on occasion I was actually coming on, and it's another one of the standing in the background, the no lines roles.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of that, and I mean, the thing is, the scripts are always a work in progress, but there's always going to be things like that where we kind of just need to make judgments. Also, remember, this isn't a proper performance. This is just a playthrough. So, it's not like we're sitting here trying to decide the conventions of how to do a Zoom video performance. If people are on when they're not saying anything, that's fine. It's not a problem. It's not the end of the world. If everybody who's in a scene stays throughout the scene, I think that might be the best happy medium, or for that matter, just be personal taste. If you'd rather stay on and not be faffing going in and out, then that's fine too. I think we need to decide. I think with comedy, it might be the thing that we just stay in gallery view throughout. I think there's a certain logic to that, because it does, as Stephen was saying, it gives you something to play off. Lois.
Yeah, this is the first time I've managed to figure out anything sensible to do with my Zoom and my script. And I actually did manage to get it so that I could see the script, and then I had a little thumbnail in the right-hand corner of the speaker, which allowed me to see, for example, Stephen's marvelous comedy performance and so on, although I wasn't seeing the the repartee. But I thought that worked fairly well. I mean, I was finally seeing the other actors, which normally I can't. On the other hand, I didn't see myself at all, so I didn't know what I was doing. And I realized too late that it's pretty well impossible to stab yourself and mute yourself and turn the video off.
Yeah, I would have done more sound effects, but it became quite clearly impossible. Plus the fact I suddenly acquired several parts that I wasn't expecting to be playing this afternoon.
I'm really glad to have been in this one, just because I wasn't in the first one. And this is one of those plays that I've often tried to read, never managed to. I still think it's a rather long-winded, boring play, but it certainly was more interesting to be in a performance of it than to read it.
I've enjoyed it both times so far. I'm not saying it doesn't have its faults, but Helen.
The comedy I found to be far more detached and detachable than the first time round. And I've been just looking at the dates, because it's supposed to be 1590-ish, 1991, or maybe earlier. It's not published till 95-6-ish. I'm wondering if the comedy isn't added because of the impressment scene, which was tremendously topical in 95-6.
Well, I think with any of the material, you know, it's potentially we've got all sorts. I think the clown is always the easiest stuff to expect. There's something has changed over time. It's always, you always expect that the clown is doing something new, and it also depends on which clown it is at which time as well. A new clown will come in with new business to a degree. But I think you're right that there is something. It did definitely felt much more disjointed this time. The clown.
Far more than even usual, because I mean we've had some disjointed clowns, but this was exceptionally disjointed.
Any final thoughts? Because I really do need to close the session now. Eric.
Yeah, about the clowns, the way Strumbo started, I thought it was going to go into like that sort of thing. I think it was the famous victories or whatever, where you know the sort of common characters are sort of more dragged into the war, and then they end up with shoes and that kind of like that narrative thread. But it didn't go that way, and I was like, okay.
Well, yeah, it does feel like this is a little bit of business. Famous victories business, you know, if it is the same company, that's not unreasonable as an assumption. But there is a sort of greatest hits bit quality to this, isn't it? It's a different. Strumbo is a totally different character in his first scene than he is in his next. He's doing a totally different game. We discussed this the first time round, where he really is a totally different person to when he
jukebox performance.
Second
Jukebox.
Yeah. And we've got that in a few clowns in a few plays. Lois, very final thought.
Well, just that I was struck by how incredibly interactive Strumbo was with the audience. I mean, lines are actually written in to be played out in a way that I haven't really seen before in other clowns, and nobody else in the play. I mean, the other characters in the serious plot never relate to the audience at all. It's quite different. It's really odd when you get that one bit where Strumbo and Humber are together, because they belong to different worlds, really.
Yeah, that's the one scene I thought worked really nicely, or one of the scenes I thought worked really nicely, because it is sort of mocking this character, and it's doing something quite cruel actually and quite interesting.
Yeah.
Yes, Strumbo is acting much more like someone from a sort of mid-Tudor interlude kind of, you know, hi everyone, miss me. At that moment, there's something really nice there. Okay, I'm afraid I do have to close the session down now. This was our second look at Locrine. We will return one day. But till then, no tears, no anxieties. Just go forward in all your beliefs and prove to me that I am not mistaken in mine. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.